Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one. The introduction. The quiet town of Maplewood had always been a place where secrets lurked just beneath the surface. Nestled between a sprawling forest and a meandering river, its picturesque charm belied the darkness that occasionally stirred beneath its idyllic facade. The townspeople would often brag about their close-knit community, but it was that very closeness that masked the unnoticed smile hiding malice, a friendly wave concealing resentment. On a chilly autumn morning in late October, the serenity of Maplewood was shattered. At the edge of Anderson Park, a few joggers stumbled upon a dark, ominous patch of earth, oddly disturbed and out of place among the crisp fall leaves and remnants of colorful foliage. Instinct honed by years of living in the town forced them to halt their steps. What lay beneath the surface was far more than just soil. It was the first clue unraveling a tightly held mystery. The sound of distant sirens pierced the tranquil morning, swelling louder with each passing second as law enforcement flooded the park. A gathering crowd murmured in confusion and dread, united by a growing anxiety that something sinister lay ahead. Whoa! Questions buzzed through the air. Who could do this? Why here? When would something like this happen to us? Unbeknownst to them, this was only the beginning. As the sun rose higher, illuminating the scene in harsh light, Maplewood would start to discover that darkness can hide in the most unsuspected of places. The victim. The victim was soon identified as Emily Carter, a 29-year-old schoolteacher whose gentle demeanor had made her a favorite among both students and parents. Living alone in a modest yellow house at the end of Willow Lane, she had become a beloved fixture in Maplewood, often spotted at local coffee shops or volunteering at community events. Her absence sent shockwaves through the town as disbelief swiftly morphed into sorrow. Friends described her as kind-hearted and nurturing, seemingly untouched by the shadows of the world. Emily had left work on Friday afternoon, her laughter and warmth lingering in the hallways long after she departed. Little did anyone know, she had plans to explore the autumn trails, a favorite pastime of hers. On Saturday, when she failed to show up for her weekly book club meeting, an air of concern rippled through the community. Those closest to her instinctively reached for their phone calls, went unanswered, and texts were left on read. As the week wore on, frantic calls and pleas for information cascaded through social media platforms, echoing the worry spiraling among the townsfolk. They speculated on what could have happened to Emily, their minds racing through every possible scenario. By Wednesday, when the news broke that Emily's fate had taken a dark turn, it became evident that her absence was not just a case of miscommunication or distraction. The heartbreak resonated painfully, not only for family and friends, but for anyone whose life Emily touched. In a town tightly woven by shared lives, her murder left an indelible mark that would unravel the bonds to their core. The crime scene. As dawn broke over Anderson Park, forensics teams began to piece together the tragic puzzle that lay before them. Detective Sarah Connors, a seasoned investigator known for her keen intuition, stood at the center of the scene, taking in the unsettling atmosphere. The air felt heavy with tension, each breath weighted with unspoken fears. Yellow crime scene tape flickered like an uneasy flag against the crisp morning, marking an area now transformed from a place of leisure into a haunting tableau. The disturbed earth bore the scars of a violent dark soil, and scattered leaves woven into a tapestry that told a story of desperation. A single gloved hand brushed against the dirt, revealing crimson-stained fibers snagged on the jagged limbs of a fallen branch. It was a small piece of evidence, but to Connors it echoed cries of the unheard. She inhaled deeply, tuning out the murmurs of her colleagues as she cataloged the details in her mind. Every flutter of anxiety and every creak in the trees seemed amplified, closed in by the weight of reality. Around her, 2 other investigators combed through the area, sweeping for any sign, any clue that could lead them closer to understanding the darkness that had come over their town. They found it odd, the peacefulness of the surrounding park, a child's swing gently moving in the breeze, the distant laughter of families, enjoying a Sunday outing, completely unaware that life had irreversibly changed just steps away. The park had served as a sanctuary for many. Yet now each rustle of leaves felt like an ominous whisper. As the investigation unfolded, Connors knew that uncovering the truth would mean not only finding justice for Emily, but also unveiling the secrets that festered within Maplewood's heart. The early investigation. In the days following Emily Carter's death, the Maplewood Police Department assembled a small task force devoted to the case. Detective Sarah Connors forged a steady plan, determined to keep momentum moving, despite the pressure mounting from both the community and media. Her first step: speaking to everyone who knew Emily, all the faces that constituted the fabric of her life. Connections were made in quiet cafes, under the glow of flickering street lamps, and within the confines of concerned homes. Emily's close friends recounted her passions, her dream show. She had always wanted to travel the world, to explore places beyond the borders of their small town. With hopes of discovering the heart of the matter, Connors sought insight into her social life, layer by layer, each interview revealing deeper sentiments wrapped around Emily's character. However, there were threads that tangled the investigation. Rumors hinted at an ex-boyfriend who had been volatile during their breakup, while whispers of jealousy and unspoken rivalries surfaced among acquaintances. The more she probed, the more Connors felt the growing burden of uncertainty. She was not just chasing leads. She was unearthing a web of emotions and hidden conflicts that painted Emily in shades both vibrant and dark. As detectives scoured Emily's social media accounts, a different picture emerged, flickering images of joy, paired with subtle signs of distress. In one photograph, Emily was backlit by the sun, her smile radiant. But just below it, hidden among the tags, a comment emerged from an unidentified user. A vague threat, cloaked in ambiguity. It read, "You can't escape your past." Each discovery sent ripples through the investigation, underscoring the importance of every detail, every word left unspoken. Connors could sense that the answer lay buried within the very fabric of friendship, love, and betrayal, and she was determined to unspool the tangled threads. The dead ends. As the investigation progressed, Detective Sarah Connors found herself confronted with a series of dead ends that only deepened the intrigue surrounding Emily Carter's murder. Days blurred into restless nights as every lead she drew in seemed to dissolve into uncertainty, leaving behind only unanswered questions and vague suspicions. The ex-boyfriend, a man named James Parker, proved to be a ghost. Attempts to track him down led detectives to an empty apartment and a string of false addresses. Conversations with those who knew him revealed rattled nerves and conflicting tales. He had become a shadow in the corners of Emily's life, a specter lingering just out of reach. With each futile attempt, Connors felt time slipping through her fingers, leaving behind a trail of mounting frustration. Meanwhile, inquiries into the mysterious comment on Emily's social media uncovered no concrete suspects. The user remained anonymous, their identity lost in the vast digital ether. Friends brushed it aside as internet chatter, yet the ominous words replayed in Connor's mind like a taunting refrain. Perhaps it was just a cruel joke, but what if it was something more? Searching for clarity, the team turned their focus to Emily's coworkers. Many described her as a dedicated teacher. But one colleague, Sarah Sam Lewis, hesitated when asked about Emily's personal life. Her unease suggested a secret, perhaps a falling or worse, fear. Finally, Sam disclosed whispered conversations about an unsettling rivalry with another teacher, hinting at tension that had simmered beneath the surface for months. Yet, when detectives pressed for names or further details, Sam clammed up, leaving Connors with more questions than answers. The fragmented nature of the leads, with no clear progression to a resolution, left Connors feeling as though she was veering deeper into a dark labyrinth, one where each corridor threatened to swallow her whole. A break in the case, just as the weight of uncertainty threatened to suffocate the investigation. An unexpected breakthrough rippled through the office of the Maplewood Police Department. The call came in just after lunch. A woman from a neighboring town had seen news coverage about Emily Carter and felt compelled to report something important. When Detective Sarah Connors met with her, the woman hesitated, anxiously twisting her hands together, clearly burdened by the weight of her information. She recounted a chilling encounter she had a week prior, while she was out jogging near the edge of Maplewood. There, she had inadvertently crossed paths with a disheveled man who seemed agitated and on edge. His eyes darted nervously, scanning the area as if searching for someone or perhaps fleeing from someone. The man had muttered something almost unintelligible. She shouldn't have done that, followed by an outburst about betrayal. Though she hadn't thought much of it at the time, the memory now returned with harrowing clarity. What unsettled the woman most was that instinctively, she had stopped her run and taken a brief glimpse at the man, allowing her to notice something suspicious. A small, dark stain on his shirt that appeared out of place. Connors listened intently, jotting down every detail. The man's specific words resonated through her mind like a siren call, igniting a spark of hope. The lead, however small, started to take shape. Following this new trail, the detectives quickly dug into records of local disturbances. Not far from the jogger's route, they unearthed an incident report about a public disturbance linked to a man known to have a history of violence. Connors felt a cautious sense of determination swell within her. There was a new direction to pursue, a pulse of adrenaline igniting the investigation anew. As she made arrangements to seek out this man, she couldn't help but wonder, did the shadows of his past hold the key to uncovering the truth behind Emily Carter's demise? The suspect. The morning sun filtered through the thin blinds of the interrogation room, illuminating the face of the man seated across from Detective Sarah Connor. Mark "Mac" Reynolds, a 30-year-old known to locals as a troubled figure, embodied the restless energy of someone who had repeatedly danced with the law. With unkempt hair and haggard eyes, his disposition mirrored a man carrying the weight of many regrets. Connors felt a chill run through her as she pondered the possibility that he could very well hold the truth they so desperately sought. After entering the room, Connors wasted no time laying out the facts, presenting evidence in a methodical tone designed to provoke curiosity as much as intimidation. Mac shifted in his seat, glancing nervously at the one-way mirror. He was shifty, responsive, yet guarded, revealing just enough to keep the investigator engaged. "You have no idea what it's like, detective," he muttered, scraping a hand across stubble. "People think they know you, but they don't see the real story." Pushing further, Connors questioned his whereabouts during the weekend Emily disappeared. He stammered under the pressure, the story he wove flickering like a candle in the wind. His vague alibi about being with friends in a neighboring town was riddled with inconsistencies. Each recoil and evasion felt like a clue, exposing the cracks within his narrative. As the interrogation pressed on, Connors hinted at evidence collected from the crime scene that indicated a struggle, fragments of DNA, a small piece of fabric. She locked her gaze on him, keenly aware of the way he choked back a reaction. Mac's face paled, a slight quiver betraying the bravado he attempted to exude. For the first time, Connors saw genuine fear flash across his features. The tension between them thickened. A palpable energy that wound tight like a coily spring. In that moment, she understood. He was a man who knew far more than he was letting on. As the hour dragged on, the once careless facade began to crumble, melting under the scrutiny of the investigator sitting across the table. Connors sensed that she was drawing near, inching closer to the truth that had eluded her for days, the revelation that perhaps not all wounds heal, and some betrayals linger, festering within. The trial. The courtroom was a solemn space, heavy with anticipation as family and friends of Emily Carter filled the benches. The air was thick with grief and hope as they awaited the proceedings against Mark Reynolds, now charged with her murder. Detective Sarah Connors sat in one of the back rows, keeping a watchful eye on the unfolding drama. She felt a deep sense of weight in her chest, knowing that the culmination of months of work, fear, and heartache had led to this moment. As the judge entered, a hush fell over the room, marking the seriousness of the occasion. The defendant, Mark Reynolds, sat stoically at the front, his demeanor betraying little but a flicker of anxiety in his eyes. The prosecution wasted no time, presenting their case. Evidence of struggles at the crime scene, a witness account of Reynolds' threatening demeanor, and critical DNA samples linking him to Emily's tragic end. Each revelation cut through the air, igniting a collective gasp from the audience. Connors leaned forward, absorbing every detail as the prosecution argued with passion and conviction. They painted a portrait of a man consumed by anger and jealousy, one whose life had spiraled out of control, ultimately leading to a violent confrontation with Emily. The courtroom atmosphere crackled with tension as the prosecutor concluded. Mark Reynolds had every opportunity to stop, but he chose violence instead. It cost a life, Emily Carter's life. Yet, the defense was prepared to counterpunch. They portrayed Reynolds as a victim of circumstance, a man caught up in the chaos of past mistakes. They spun a narrative of his troubled upbringing and drug-related struggles, seeking to humanize him in a way that sent ripples of discomfort through the attendees. Convinced of his innocence, they questioned the validity of the evidence, dismissing it as speculative and circumstantial. As Connors witnessed the shifting dynamics, she felt an intense wave of emotions, swelling within her. Memories of Emily's laughter. The warmth came flooding back, a stark contrast to the cold reality of the trial. It struck her that this courtroom was not just a stage for the prosecution and defense. It was a vessel capturing the pain of loss and the quest for justice. Days turned to weeks, and as the trial progressed, the tension within the courtroom morphed into an unrelenting pressure to seek closure. For the people of Maplewood, as well as for Connors, it was not merely about a verdict. It was about the soul of their community, wounded yet fighting, seeking light once more in the shadows. The aftermath. As the verdict echoed through the courtroom, marking the end of a long and arduous journey, the air became suffused with an amalgamation of relief and unresolved sorrow. Mark Reynolds was found guilty of second-degree murder, but for those present, justice felt like a double-edged sword knot, one that sliced clean, but rather one that left jagged edges of grief. Emily Carter would never return to savor the small things. Her gardening, the warmth of the sun, or laughter shared over coffee. In the weeks that followed, the town of Maplewood faced a quiet reckoning. Streets that once teemed with life now carried an air of caution, as if everyone was reassessing their bonds and reflecting on the hidden shadows that lingered beside the idyllic autumn trees. The community had rallied together during the trial, their shared pain forging connections. Yet beneath the camaraderie lay unspoken fears and worries that echoed in whispers among the townsfolk. Detective Sarah Connors continued her work, but a new heaviness now lingered in her heart. The case had taken its toll, leaving scars that would not easily heal. Behind closed doors, she replayed every moment of the investigation, the initial discovery in the park, the haunting conversations with witnesses, and the unnerving face of a killer in the interrogation room. Each recollection felt like a reminder of her commitment to justice. Yet it also served as a reminder of the fragility of life, of how quickly peace could shatter. Support groups formed within the community for those affected by violent crime, providing a space for healing and shared stories. Connors often visited, offering a listening ear, a bridge to understand. As the faces around her unraveled tales of loss and resilience, she recognized the deep interplay between mourning and healing, a complex dance that encapsulated both the tragedy and necessity of moving forward. In the evenings, she would stroll through Anderson Park, now a beloved sanctuary, but tinged with the memory of sorrow. She envisioned Emily's laughter bringing life to the park, replacing the shadows that lingered. In those quiet moments of reflection, she resolved that Maplewood would reclaim its essence, that the light would eventually return, illuminating the path toward healing. The struggle for justice had concluded, yet the journey of a community began anew. A glimmer of hope emerging from the ashes of grief. Reflection. Months after the trial, the weight of the past lingered in the air like the fading warmth of autumn. Detective Sarah Connors often found herself reflecting on all that had transpired, the lives irrevocably altered, the friendships strained, and the pervasive sense of loss that hung over Maplewood as a gauzy veil. Each morning brought new resolve to confront the day, yet the ache of Emily Carter's absence resonated within her, infusing her routine with a renewed sense of purpose. Sitting in her modest office, Connors thumbed through case files, gathering notes, evidence, and thoughts. Despite the justice served, she was acutely aware that Samantha Lewis, the colleague who had withheld crucial information, now navigated her own turmoil. The complexities of human relationships often wove a web that ensnared the innocent as well, leaving Connors to consider their role in the cycle of tragedy. Instead of casting blame, she found strength in understanding. Each character in this long narrative bore scars. In the evenings, she often took solace in quiet walks along the riverside, reflecting on life's fragility. Nature seemed a balm, the gentle flow of the river echoing the resilience she had witnessed from the community. A flicker of hope began to emerge, a reminder that even in the face of darkness, healing was possible. As the sun dipped below the horizon one evening, casting a warm glow over the landscape, Connors felt a belief blossoming within her. That time has the power to mend wounds, but it is love the kind born of shared tragedy that binds people together and down. Carries them forward. Maplewood may never be the same, but with each recollection, each moment of connection, it carved a path toward tomorrow.